Hello there guys, and welcome to this Explain 11 video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the FlyJSim 737-200 version 3. This is a preview copy provided to me by Jack himself from FlyJSim, so thank you very much Jack for providing me with this preview copy. What we're going to be doing in this video, we're going to be taking a look at all the things that has changed since the last version, and in order to do so we're going to do a short flight from San Francisco to Fresno Yosemite International Airport in California. So without further ado, let's get to it. The first thing you'll notice in version 3 of the FlyJSim 737 is that the textures have been upgraded to 4K textures. And as you can see, PBR has also been used to give the aircraft that metal look. In my opinion, this is a major upgrade in terms of the look and feel of the aircraft. As you can see, those engines are looking absolutely gorgeous now, and the reflective look again gives the aircraft a very realistic and authentic look. Another thing that has changed in version 3 of the FlyJSim 737 is the introduction of the control panel. And now we have a control panel that is very similar to that of the 727. This is something again we're very familiar with from the 727 takeoff and landing performance data. We also can now manipulate the weight and balance of the aircraft from this window here, and you need to have the doors open in order to manipulate the weight and balance. We've got also a settings menu now that enables us to tweak the interior-exterior sound, a few things here to turn on and off. You can connect to the GPU and air card units, and you can toggle the navigational system that you want to use. Now you can use the default Explain 11 FMS if that's what you choose to do, but this option in my opinion is very unrealistic for this type of aircraft. For our flight today we're going to be using the VOR to VOR navigation, so very classical way of navigating. The most realistic way to navigate in this aircraft is using the SIVA INS, or the inertial navigational system. This is pretty much the type of navigation used with this type of aircraft back in the days. So the other thing that we have is the doors. So you now have a complete control over the aircraft doors. So we're going to go ahead and open a few doors here so that we can change our cargo and passenger fuel. And then we've got the maintenance system, so you can turn the maintenance system on or off, and you can see that I've done a few flights now with this aircraft, just testing it out. And let me tell you, it flies really nice. And last but not least, you have a checklist that you can use in order to follow the, near real life procedures for operating this aircraft. Now that we have taken a look at the control panel and the exterior changes, let us go ahead and take a look at the changes that has been made to this aircraft interior. In terms of the interior texture work and 3D modeling, as you can see, things have changed also in the interior department, again with the application of PBR. I'm not sure if the overhead panel looks better than the previous version. It could be that this is just a review copy, but I kind of felt that the overhead panel in the previous version looked more realistic. Or maybe the texture work was better done, but nevertheless this is looking pretty good. I think a very realistic look. Again, I think PBR helps quite a bit, and it's used properly on this aircraft. Again, the rust and that old look is definitely present in this aircraft's 3D cockpit. A very nice feature in this version is if we hit the numpad 0, and that will take you to a passenger window where you can see a wing view. But the cool thing is you can actually close those windows if you want, and you can do this for all the windows in the aircraft. So if we look over here, you can open this one and this one, that one. You can do whatever you like, and I think this is something that video makers will really come to appreciate. In addition to the passenger window view, there are pre-assigned views in this version going from numpad 1 through 9. This is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Again, I think this is very cool because it gives you quick access to the areas of the 3D cockpit that you're going to need the most to manage the aircraft properly. Let us take a quick look at our plan today. A very simple plan. We're going to depart San Francisco, runway 10 right, and we're going to head to the Sierra Juliet Charlie VOR, and from there to Hotel Yankee Papa, and finally to the Clovis VOR, which is Charlie Zulu Quebec. Once we are there, that will put us about 8 nautical miles from Fresno Yosemite International. As you can see, this is a very short flight, about 142 nautical miles, and we're going to be cruising at 20,000 feet. Okay, so the nav log here shows frequencies 114.1, 114.2, and 112.9. So let's go ahead and jump back into the flight deck. And what we're going to do is we're going to put these frequencies here. So this is 114.1, 114.2, and 112.9. And this one here is the ILS frequency at runway 11 left, I believe, at Fresno Yosemite. So we've got all the radio stations set up already, and we are now ready for power up and pushback. All right, the first thing we want to do is we want to bring up the weight and balance, and let's see here. We're going to add about 6,500 and 6,500. This is way more than what we need for our flight. And let's see here. We'll leave everything else the same. We're going to come back here and close the doors now. Okay, we are good to go. Let's go ahead and power up the aircraft now. Battery is on. Emergency lights are armed. Left after fuel pump is on. And now we can start the APU. Okay, it looks like the APU is now available. So let's go ahead and power up the aircraft. APU power is now on. Let's come back here. Yaw damper is on. Okay, we have power now to the aircraft. And we'll come here to the galley. Turn that on. Non-smoking signs on, and fasten seatbelt signs on auto. Window heat is on. And let's see here. Recirc fans are on. We're going to turn the left pack, and we'll leave the oscillation valve on open. This one can remain off at the moment. Engine bleeds are off. APU bleed is on. Our final flight altitude today is 20,000 feet. And position light is on the on position. Okay, so we are pretty much now ready to go since we don't have any ADIRs to wait for or an FMC to program. Our radio frequencies are fine, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to call the pushback truck. Alright, so the tow is driving up, and in the meantime what I'm going to do is turn on the anti-collision lights, and we'll turn on our fuel pumps as well.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Alright, so we are ready for push now. Release the parking brake.
Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
And we have clearance to start our engines as well, so we're going to start with the engine number 2.
Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake.
Alright, let's set the parking brake.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Alright, and while the tow is disconnected, let's go ahead and grab the altimeter real quick. Altimeter is 3031. Right, and we'll do it on this side as well. 3031. That's done. Right, looks like we have a good start on the first engine, so let's start the engine number 1.
Tail is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have fun up there.
And we're at about 20%. We can give it fuel now. By the way, the sounds have been changed in version 3 of the aircraft as well. Really, the FlyJSim 737 is one of my favorite aircraft to fly in X-Plane. And finally, it is available for X-Plane 11 with full compatibility and new features. Right, looks like we have a good start on both engines, so what we'll do now is we're going to turn on the generators. And let's see here. Window heat is on. Hydraulics on. Pack on. And then the isolation valve needs to go to auto. Engine bleeds are on. APU bleed is off. And wing and logo lights are on. Low ignition. Runway turn-off lights and taxi lights are on. And now we are pretty much ready to go. So we're gonna set flaps 5 for departure. And let's go ahead and take a look at our takeoff speed. So takeoff speed V1 is 131, V rotate is 131, and V2 is 137. Let's set our trim 3.63. That's about right. And now we're good to go. Right, let's release the parking brake and let's head over to the runway.
All of the 3-1 down yanks go to the KSFO number. Thank you, 2532.
Alright, here we go. This is the whole short point for runway 10 right.
Approaching 10 right.
Alright, so we brought the aircraft to a complete stop. Let's go ahead and turn on the... we need to turn off the APU. Landing lights are on. Strobes are on. Taxi and runway turn-off lights are off. And we are now ready for departure. Now, once we are at about 1,000 feet above ground level, what we'll do is we will engage the autopilot, and we're going to have the IS selector enabled. That will maintain 250 knots while we climb to 20,000 feet. And of course, we're going to engage the VOR lock knob here so that we navigate to our first VOR station. We still don't have the readings here, but as soon as we depart, we should start getting the reading, the distance to the first VOR station. All right, let's see here. Altitude. We need to set our altitude to 20,000. Something that skipped my head, so it's good that we checked. There we go, 20,000. Flaps 5. Everything's looking good for departure. So let's go ahead and release the parking brake and depart.
Runway 4 left, if you got it. Cross 31 left, and ground point 65 today. Whiskey Mike, look up.
On runway 10 right.
All right, we are ready for departure now. Let's go and give it full power.
Weight 317, Southwest 150. Southwest 1254, turn left heading 250, runway 317, take up 313, turn 250, Southwest 1250.
Airspeed active.
80 knots.
Check.
E1. Rotate.
And positive rate of climb, gears going up. And as you can see now, the reading of our VR station is registering now. Okay, we're going to begin retracting the flaps now. Okay, we're above 1,000 feet AGL. So what we can do now is we can engage the autopilot. We're set this on IAS, and this is set at 250 knots. And we can retract the flaps now. And what we can do at this point is go to VR lock. There we go, and as you can see now, the nav lock light has turned to green, meaning that we have intercepted the VR station. We'll do the same thing here. And all is looking good at the moment. I'm going to ease off on the power a little bit before we burn our engines. Yep. And what we'll see now is the aircraft will adjust pitch to maintain 250 knots while it climbs to 20,000 feet. We are at about 20 nautical miles from the first VR station. And 10,000 feet, we're going to turn off our landing lights. Let's see here. We don't need the wing lights anymore. Leave the logo lights on. Now, what you notice here is now on DME2, I have 116 miles. This is the VR station. This is the Clovis VR station. So this is the 112.9. And this is an indication that we're pretty close to our destination. So we are about 115 miles from Fresno right now. And what we're going to do is, actually, as soon as we hit our top of climb, we need to begin the descent because there will not be enough time for us to descend from 20,000 to 1,700 feet, which is our platform altitude. So I'm just going to let the aircraft climb now to 20,000 feet. And by the way, need to adjust the throttle manually, so this aircraft does not have an auto throttle, which in my opinion makes it a lot more fun to fly. I really enjoy the FlyJSim aircraft, both the 727 and the 737, and I'm really excited to have this aircraft back in X-Plane 11. And we just hit our transition altitude, and the barrel reference has been set to standard. We need to switch the VR station to 114.2. There we go. And we'll do the same thing here, 2992. There we go. And as you can see now, we are about 70 nautical miles from our next waypoint. We're coming up to our final cruising altitude, which is 20,000 feet. Everything's looking pretty good. And at 20,000, we're going to need to, at 20,000 feet, we're going to need to adjust our power to maintain about 250 knots. I'm going to maintain 250 knots throughout the flight. All right, here we go. So this is 20,000 feet, and I'm going to just reduce power now to about 70% of N2. Okay, so it looks like our speed is now stable at about 256 knots. We are at about 80% of N2. Everything is looking good. We are about 91 miles from Fresno and 59 nautical miles from our next VOR station. Okay, we are close to our top of descent point. We're about 6 nautical miles. So what I'll do now, I'm going to take this frequency and set it to the inactive one here. So we'll set this to 112.9. We are at 80 nautical miles from the Clovis VOR and 50 nautical miles from the next VOR station. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch this to IIS and I'm going to retard the throttle. And now in order for the aircraft to maintain 250 knots, it needs to pitch down to maintain that speed. Alright, so our altitude is set to 1700 feet, which is our platform altitude. We keep descending and we're a bit too high. We're about 55 nautical miles from the Clovis VOR and 23 nautical miles from the next VOR station. Everything's looking good. Our speed is about 250 knots and everything is looking okay at the moment. We are now getting closer to our destination, so what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to extend the speed brake and I'm going to reduce our speed to about 220 knots. Alright, we are now below 10,000 feet. Landing lights are on. And let's go ahead and check our landing performance data. So today we're going to be landing flaps 30 at 128 plus 5, that's about 133 knots. Woo! What was that? Okay, let's go ahead and switch now the frequency to the Clovis VOR. There we go. And we're now not very far away from Fresno, about 34 nautical miles. Let's go ahead and reduce our speed now to about 205 knots. And as you can see now, we are 30 nautical miles from DME2, or actually the Clovis VOR. So we're actually pretty close. We're about 38 nautical miles from Fresno Yosemite. As you can see, we are about 80 nautical miles now from the Clovis VOR. That puts us at about 24 nautical miles from the airport. The airport is right there, as you can see. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reduce our speed to about 180 knots. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ILS frequency and stick it here, 111.3, and we'll make this the active frequency. And what we'll do is now we're going to go to heading select, and we're going to change our heading to intercept the localizer, and we're going to change this to auto approach. That's about 180 knots. That's the airport. And what we're going to see is we're going to see this needle now moving towards the center. And once it is there, then we should... right, time to set our brakes, auto brake to medium. Ignition to low ignition. Runway turn-off lights are on. As you can see now, the line here is moving towards the center. And now the localizer has been intercepted. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reduce our speed to about 150 knots. And we're going to go to flat 5.
Departure, good afternoon. 289 in the turn, heading 040 climb.
Now, as we approach the runway and reach our final platform altitude, we need to be very careful because, as I've indicated earlier, this aircraft does not have an auto throttle. So we're going to have to be very quick in giving the aircraft some power to maintain our speed. Okay, altitude hold, so we're going to begin now giving the aircraft some power. Alright, and at this point I'm going to take over. And we're going to disengage the autopilot. And it's my plane now. We'll start reducing our speed. To about 133 knots. 500 feet. And touchdown. Welcome to Fresno Yosemite International Airport. Cursors are out.
Departure double 949, 1,300.
80 knots.
5,000, heading 17.
16 knots. And manual braking. And let's go ahead and exit the runway right here.
Direction, JetBlue 949.
Alright, let me bring the aircraft to a complete stop. And set the parking brake. Let's go ahead and take a look at our landing. Well guys, this pretty much brings us to the conclusion of our video today. I hope that this was an insightful and useful first look at version 3 of the FlyJSim 737-200. If you have any questions, as usual, please do post them in the comments section below. And until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.